Hello and welcome to the Friends of Agriculture Foundation. My name is Paula Shoup and we're really excited to be able to do a demonstration for you today for Remake Days. I'm going to do a lesson called Cream to Butter. It is one of our lessons that we do on our Mobile Ag Science Lab. And we have 6 science labs that go all across Pennsylvania. They are 40-foot gooseneck trailers, and they're equipped with about 30 agriculture-based science lessons. We teach children from ages kindergarten through 8th grade, and it's a really fun way to connect with students in schools across the state and teach about agriculture. So again, today our lesson is going to be cream to butter. I'm going to go over what you're going to need to be able to participate at home. You're going to need some heavy whipping cream. You're going to need some light cream. You're going to need some buttermilk. You're going to need 3 containers mine have a screw top lid, but if you just have ones that have the lids that push on, that's fine too. You don't want something really big. If you had something smaller than this, that would work too, but you really don't want anything any larger. You're also going to need a tablespoon measuring spoon. And you're going to need a paper towel, just a little piece of paper towel. And I'm going to use my phone as a timer because we're going to be timing. So we're going to see today, when we're on the science lab, we always follow the scientific method. So if you're familiar with that, probably the older students are, maybe the younger students aren't. But the scientific method goes through a process, an investigation to solve a problem, to a question. So it always starts with, what's our problem? So our problem today, I have it written right here, it says, which milk is the best at making butter? So we're going to test all 3 of these milks. One other thing you might want to go grab, I forgot to mention, you might want to just have a little piece of paper and a pencil that you can use to jot down some observations as we go through this experiment. So when we do the scientific method, we always start with the problem, and then we would think about, typically you would do some research, what you would need to know about the project that you're doing. And then you form a hypothesis. So your hypothesis is your educated guess, your best guess as to what you think is going to happen. And the really great thing about the hypothesis is it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. It's just your educated guess, and then you go through your experiment, your investigation, and then you determine whether or not you had a correct hypothesis. So when we do a hypothesis, it's always an I think statement. And it's not only I think, you also have to have a because. You have to have a reason why you're thinking that. You can't just say, I think that light cream will be the best because it's in a blue container. You want to have a good reason why you think that. You want to support that reasoning. Maybe what do you know about light cream? Okay, so I'm going to turn this, and we're going to move on. Okay, so we always talk about the materials and the procedures when we're doing the scientific method. So our materials, again, I already went through them to make sure you had everything. But again, we're going to have the heavy cream. We're going to have the light cream. We're going to have the buttermilk. We're going to have our tablespoon measuring spoon. And we're going to have our 3 containers with lids. Okay? So that's very important. So before we move on to our procedures, we're going to be discussing, we're going to be trying to investigate the different types of milk. And I have 3 different types here, but there's all kinds of different milk. When you go to the grocery store, you see whole milk, you see 2% milk, you see 1% milk, you see skim milk or fat-free milk. So they're all different types of milk, and the things that make them different are the fat content that are in those milks. So when they're at the milk processing plant, the milk content, the fat content to the milk is different, which makes it either whole milk a 2% milk, so a 1% milk, that's talking about the fat content. So also there's products that are made from milk, and different products go through different processes to become those products. So if we think our problem here was which milk is going to be the best to make butter. So we're going to try to make butter today. So if you think about the process to make butter, we think we're trying to get the fat content to move around, and we are going to use what's called agitation. So agitation is when you're going to move something back and forth at the same speed or rate, okay? So we're going to move on to our procedures. Now, when we do this lesson on the lab, we always work in partners. So I don't have a partner today, and you probably don't have a partner at home. So when we do it on the lab and we work in partners, we usually have one person would be testing 2 different types at the same time, and then that second person would just have the one type of milk that they're going to test. So because we don't have partners today, we're going to test 2 at a time, and then we're going to test 1 separately, okay? So here we have our procedures. So we're going to measure 2 tablespoons. So we're going to fill up our measuring spoon, tablespoon, 2 times, okay? And we're going to put it into our container. Now, after we do that, we're going to have to wipe it out with our paper towel to move on to the next type of milk or cream, because we don't want any of the residue, anything from the previous milk to cause a variable or a difference in our results. So I'm going to start with the heavy whipping cream, and I'm going to pour 2 tablespoons into my container. So I have 1, and I have 2. Okay, so I'm going to put this back. I'm going to put the lid on it so I don't spill. And then I'm going to take my tablespoon and I'm going to wipe that out again so there's no residue in my spoon that's going to contaminate or cause any kind of variable or change in my results. Then I'm going to put my lid on my container, make sure it's secure, and I'm just going to set it down. And then I'm going to measure the next cream. So we're going to do the light cream next. Okay, so I have 1 tablespoon and 2 tablespoons again. And again, we're going to secure the lid so we don't spill. We're going to wipe out our measuring spoon so that it's ready for the next milk product, which is going to be the buttermilk, but we're going to test our heavy cream and our light cream first. We're going to secure our lid, okay? And, okay, so we followed the first steps. Measure 2 tablespoons of each milk into 3 separate containers and secure the lids. So we're just going to do 2 here at a time, and then we'll go back and do the third one. Wipe the spoon in between the milks. Then we're going to shake each container at the same speed, and that's what's important. It has to be at the same speed for 10 minutes, up to 10 minutes. We're going to stop every 2 minutes, and we're going to check. We're going to take our lids off, and we're going to check and see if there's any changes noted into our containers. So I'm going to show you what our observation sheet typically will look like. Okay, so we're going to stop and make observations along the way, because every good scientist makes observations when they're performing an investigation. So we are going to start with the heavy cream and the light cream. We're going to shake for 2 minutes at the same speed, and then we're going to stop, and we're going to make some observations. I'm not going to be able to reach to write my observations, but you can jot your observations down at home. Okay. I'm going to set my timer for 2 minutes. Actually, I'm going to stop and go get a pen. Editing. Okay, so we are going to take the heavy cream and the light cream. We're going to shake for 2 minutes, and then we're going to jot down some observations as to what we see after those 2 minutes. So I'm just using my cell phone. It's the easiest thing for me. It has a timer on it. We're going to start 2 minutes. So it's best if you hold with your thumb on the bottom, and then you can put 4 fingers on the top of your container. Okay, so I'm actually going to set my timer for 2 minutes, and then we're going to start. Okay, so we're going to shake at the same speed, the same agitation. So we're moving it back and forth. And again, in my right hand over here, I have the heavy cream, and in the left, I have the light cream. So you should be doing the same thing. You should be shaking with the same force, the same speed with each hand. So keep shaking. 2 minutes is a lot longer than you would think when you're doing this. Kids always say that their arms are tired. So we have about a minute, a little over a minute left. Okay? So while we're shaking, while we're doing this agitation process, you should be thinking to yourself, wondering, what do you think is going to happen to these two products? Shaking, shaking, shaking. Should have brought some music for us. We could have played a song. Okay, we still have 40 seconds. I don't know about you guys, but my arms are actually starting to get tired. So what do you think we're going to see when we take the lids off of these containers? What do you think? Okay, we're down to about 10 seconds. Okay, and stop. Now, we're going to take the lid off of the heavy cream first. Okay, and I don't know what you see inside of your container, but mine is a little, it's starting to look kind of thick. It almost looks a little bit like pudding. It's kind of creamy white. And then we're going to take the lid off of the light cream. And this one just has a lot of bubbles in it. It's still pretty fluid. It has still a more of a liquidy form. But my heavy cream seems to be more of like a pudding consistency. So I'm just going to jot down, I'm going to move this. Okay, so after 2 minutes, my heavy cream is thicker. And it's still white. And my light cream is still runny, we'll call it runny. And bubbly. Okay. Now, that was after the 2 minute mark. So next we're going to put our lids back on. Okay, make sure they're on. Try not to spill. Of course, I just made a little mess with my lid. That's another reason you want your paper towel. And then put your lid back on your heavy cream. Okay, and we're going to make sure they're secure. We're going to start for, set my timer again, for another 2 minutes. So at the end, we'll be at 4 minutes because 2 plus 2 is 4, right? Okay, so go ahead, pick up your containers. Let me pick up 2 of mine at the same time so I can grab the other one. And start. And we're shaking, 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 shaking at the same rate, the same speed as we did the first 2 minutes. Okay, so we think of the word agitation, which means to move something back and forth. So we're doing an agitation process. And I can even hear kind of the difference in the consistencies in these 2 containers as I'm shaking. I can still hear the liquid moving from the heavy cream, and I can hear it moving from the light cream as well. But the light cream seems to be moving faster. I can hear it. It's louder. Okay, we are down to 30 seconds. This 2 minutes seemed to go a little bit quicker than the first 2 minutes. 30 seconds, we're shaking, agitating. Ten seconds. Okay, and my timer is done. Okay, I spilled some. Okay, so we are going to look, again, we're going to open our containers very carefully, trying not to spill. My heavy cream seems to be, it's definitely thicker than it was before. Some bubbles in it. My light cream still seems pretty runny, but it might be getting a little bit thicker. But I think it's still pretty runny. So I'm going to put my lids back on so I don't spill. So this is our 4-minute mark. Okay, we're talking about the heavy cream and the light cream. So after 4 minutes, it's getting even thicker. What should we say? We can say, well, we'll just say greater. Well, we'll just say how about if we say thicker than 2 minutes? Okay, let me move this so I can reach. And let's say we're still runny. And it's still got a lot of bubbles. Okay. Also, I think the heavy cream is changing color slightly, okay? Changing color. Just ever so slightly. It's not quite as bright white as it was. Okay, so we're going to move this back so you can see. Now we're going to move on to 6 minutes. 6 minutes. So make sure our lids are nice and tight. Okay, we're going to set our timer again for 2 minutes. Okay. So I'm going to hold, I'm just going to stack mine since I'm the only person here. So I'm going to hit start, and we're going to shake again for 2 minutes. So keep thinking about, what do you think is going to happen? I don't know if you can hear in this video, but I can definitely hear the light cream. It's moving a lot faster, and this heavy cream is really slowing down. It's getting harder to shake because it's getting thicker as I shake. I wonder what's going to happen when we test the buttermilk, because buttermilk has that word butter in it. So I wonder if that's the one that's going to make, or if any of them are. Okay, we are down to 1 minute. Is anybody's arms getting tired at home? No, you don't have to do your arm workout today. This is pretty cool that we can just watch this experiment and be able to do it at home. I hope you guys are enjoying this at home. Okay, we're about 20 seconds. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Put them down. Stop the clock. Okay, so let's open up the heavy cream and see. Oh my goodness. I don't know what yours looks like, but I can actually hold mine up to show you. It's kind of stuck to the side. It's pretty thick. It's not moving at all when I shake it or try to move it around. Let's see what the light cream looks like. Still pretty runny. Pretty runny. White, bubbly. Doesn't really look too much different than when we started. Let's go back here and look at this heavy whipping cream. It almost has like a cream color to it, like a pale yellow. So the color definitely changed. The consistency definitely changed. Okay. So we are going to write down our observations. So after 6 minutes, let's see, our heavy cream is now, it's actually a solid. It is no longer liquid, it is solid, and it's cream color. Okay, and our light cream, again, is still runny. Not much of a change. And bubbly. Okay, so like I said at the beginning, we can do this up to 10 minutes. But my heavy cream is pretty solid right now. So, I don't know. Let's try one more time. We'll shake it for 2 more minutes, up to 8 minutes, but I don't think we're going to have to go to that 10-minute mark. So I'm going to turn this on again. 2 minutes. Timer is set. And let me get this one stacked so I can grab it quickly. 2 minutes and shaking. It's definitely a lot harder to shake this cream, the heavy cream, than it is the light cream. I see I have a little bit of light cream shaking out of my container, but I think it's just from my lid. That's why we want to make sure our lids are secure, but I think it's just from the outside. So I wonder if I'm going to see any difference. Do you think you're going to see the heavy whipping cream to look any differently than it did after the 6-minute mark? Do you think it's going to be even more solid? So if we started with a liquid, they were all liquids, right? And then we were shaking and shaking and shaking, and the heavy cream is turning into a solid, so it's changing its states of matter. All right? So we're going to talk about that, why that's happening. Keep shaking. We'll wait till we do the buttermilk, and then we'll talk about why this heavy cream turned into a solid. Okay, we are down to about 25 seconds. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, and stop. Okay, so we're going to again take the lid off carefully. Okay, well that's interesting. Now I have an even more solid form, and then there's liquid in there as well. I don't know if you can see that. I'll just go like this so you can see it, the liquid coming out. I'll dump the liquid into my lid. And then you can really see that solid in there. I'm going to put that back in. Wonder what that liquid is. What do you think that liquid is? So we're going to talk about that. In a couple more minutes, we're going to talk about that. So here's my light cream. Still looks pretty much the same. Put the lid back on. Okay, so now it looks like we actually have something that resembles butter in our heavy cream. So we have a solid, which looks like butter. And then we also now have a liquid. There was no liquid. It was getting thicker, thicker, until it became a solid. Now there's a solid and a liquid in there. Okay, and then the light cream, we're just going to say no change. No change. It looks the same. Okay. Now, we still have one more product to test. We're going to test our buttermilk. Now, buttermilk has the word butter in it, so what do you think? Are we going to make butter from the buttermilk? Let's try and see. So we have to remember the procedures. Remember we measured 2 tablespoons of the heavy cream and the light cream. Get my lid off. Now my container's full, so I have to be careful not to spill. So we're going to pour the buttermilk into our spoon over the container. That way, in case you do spill something, it's going to go into your container. 1 tablespoon. There's 2 tablespoons. Okay, we're going to put the lid back on. Turn this way so you can see. Securing the lid. Now I'm just going to wipe out my spoon just so that it's clean. We're still going to have to wash with soap and water at the very end, but it's at least wiped off. Okay, so now we're going to do 2, 4, 6, and 8 minutes again. So whichever arm isn't super tired from the first 8 minutes might be the arm you want to shake with. So now we're going to shake this final product. We're going to have to shake with the same speed, okay, and consistency as we did the heavy cream and the light cream. So again, 2 minutes, and we're going to start. So we're going to see, are we going to make butter from buttermilk? So pull these back some. Even though I could feel the difference when we did the heavy cream and my right arm was actually getting a little tired, I'm going to use my right arm to shake. Shaking, shaking, shaking. Maybe if you're at home, you can be playing some music in the background to make your time go a little bit faster. "40 seconds, we're getting there. Okay, we're about 20 seconds. Move my phone up. And there we go. 2 minutes is finished. We're going to take the lid off and we're going to look at our buttermilk. I don't know, it still looks pretty liquidy to me. Lots of bubbles. It kind of looks a lot like the light cream did, in my opinion. It's a little bit of a different color, but buttermilk is not as bright white. See if I can move this over so I can write on it. So 2 minutes, buttermilk. We're going to say it's, well, I got to move this a little closer to me. Runny and bubbly. Okay. Now, we did 2 minutes. We're going to do 2 more minutes. I'm going to secure our lid. So when we're making our observations, okay, we're going to start, set your timer again for 2 more minutes, and go and shake. So when we make our observations, and we just want to use some simple terminology, just some adjectives, descriptive words that are going to describe what we're seeing. So we want words that are going to talk about appearance, color, texture, shape, okay? Those are all good types of adjectives that we can use to describe what we're witnessing in our experiment. Okay. We are down to 1 minute. So I don't know if any of you at home have been lucky enough to have us come to your school, but we go, like I said, to all kinds of different schools all across Pennsylvania, and we teach really cool experiments that have to do with agriculture, because here at the foundation, that's what we do. We talk to students and we promote their awareness of what they know and hopefully teach them something about agriculture and how important agriculture is to our everyday life. And if you're not sure what the word agriculture means, it's kind of a big fancy word for farming and everything that has to do with farming. Not only the animals, but the crops and all the products that you get from those animals and crops. Okay, there was my 2-minute mark. Okay, still looks about the same to me. Lots of bubbles, and it's still pretty runny. Okay, so I think I'm just going to say no change. Again, no change. But I'm kind of confused. If this buttermilk has the word butter in it, why is it not getting thicker? But we still have more time that we're going to test here, so maybe it will be getting thicker. Okay, so get your lids on nice and secure, nice and tight. Maybe wipe off the sides. Okay, so we're going to do 2 more minutes so that we're going to have a total of 6 minutes of shaking or agitation. All right, let me get my clock ready. 2 minutes, and go. So back to agriculture and how important it is. So if you think about everything that you do in a day, you think about when you wake up in the morning and you eat your breakfast, your food came from a farm, right? It didn't just appear in the grocery store. A farmer had to grow the crops, right? Or the animals, he or she had to take care of the animals. So you ate your breakfast, thank a farmer. You went upstairs, you took your shower, you washed your hair. Maybe if you have longer hair, you use conditioner. And in conditioner, there's actually soy, a product that comes from soybeans that's called soy lecithin, and it makes things really smooth and creamy. It's actually in chocolate bars. That's why your chocolate bars have that nice creamy texture to them. It's actually because there's soy in it. So you can thank a farmer when you're washing your hair. Then you go to get dressed, you put your clothes on, right? Lots of clothes are made from wool or cotton. So wool is something that's going to come from a sheep, and cotton is a plant that is grown on a farm. So again, we thank the farmer for that. So we don't think all the time about how important agriculture is. We don't really kind of take for granted everything that we have, and we don't really relate it back to the farm. But most everything we use in a daily and 2-minute stop in our daily practices and our routines is coming from a farm. Okay, let's take the lid off. I don't know, mine's still super runny, bubbly. I'm guessing you're seeing the same thing at home. You should. So I'm going to get that lid secured back on. I'm going to write my observations. Oh, let's see, no change again. We'll give it 2 more minutes since we did 8 minutes with the other 2 products. We're going to give it another 2 minutes. Okay, so our lid is secure. Okay, and we're going to set our timer again for 2 minutes and go. So the reason I don't just stop at 6 minutes, I don't see any changes, okay? It looks the same as it did when we started. So I could just say, okay, well, doesn't seem like anything's going to happen differently with this buttermilk. But then I'm not going to have accurate results, because when we do science experiments and we're getting our data, we're collecting our data and we're putting it into our observation table, we have to be consistent. So if I did the first two, if I shook them for 8 minutes, that means the third one I have to also shake for 8 minutes, because then I'm going to have inconsistent data. Data has to be exact. We have to do our procedures exactly the same. And scientists are always repeating their procedures. If scientists do an experiment and they get a result that they like, they need to do it again and again and again. They have to repeat the process to make sure they're getting the same data so that they know that it's accurate. If they do an experiment and they don't get the results they want, they need to try again. And then if they're still not getting the results, they need to figure out what they might need to do differently. And then once they do get the results they want, again, they have to keep repeating. Science is repeatable. You have to keep repeating over and over so that you're producing the same results, so that you know you're getting an accurate response to your experiment. Okay, and we are down to 2 seconds, 2 seconds. Alrighty, so let's take our lid off. Okay, and it's still really liquidy. It looks exactly the same as it did when we poured it into the container. So I'm going to say no change again. So I'm not going to do 10 minutes because we already saw that the heavy cream, kind of hard for me to stretch. We already saw that the heavy cream turned into a liquid, or I'm sorry, turned into a solid. So let's do this. Let's take all of our lids off, and we're going to put them either in front or beside our containers. Okay, and we're going to look a little more closely. So we have our heavy cream, which has that solid inside of it, and it also turned into a liquid then between the 6 and the 8 minute mark, which was unexpected, wasn't it? Our light cream is still very runny, okay? There might be a little bit of residue around the edges that looks a little thicker, but it's still very runny, looks pretty similar to when we started. Our buttermilk is completely runny, liquid form. Not really much of a change there. So, is it safe to say that we made butter from the heavy cream? I think it is. So you can take, if you have a cracker or something at home, I didn't bring a cracker with me today, but if you have a cracker, you can take this butter and put it onto your cracker. I'm just going to use my finger, and I'm going to taste it. So you can taste the butter. Tastes like butter. It's not salted because we made it here by ourselves. Now, if we wanted it to taste like real butter, we think, well, there's salted butter, there's unsalted butter. So if you wanted that salty flavor that goes with a lot of butter, you can add a little bit of salt in there. But it has that real creamy texture. It's pretty good. But we still have that mystery of that liquid that's in with our solid. So again, I'm going to dump the liquid out, and then my solid came out too. So we have the solid and the liquid. Now the liquid, I'm going to just do that The liquid is, so we actually have butter. This is our butter that came from the heavy cream. And then we have a liquid. So the liquid is what we would call a byproduct from this. So it's actually butter, and then the liquid would be the buttermilk. Okay? So we have started with heavy cream. We did the agitation, or we shook it back and forth for 8 minutes till we got some butter, and then we also got some buttermilk. Okay. Then our light cream didn't really do too much. There might be a little bit of a residue along the sides, but not too much. And our buttermilk really looks no different. So why did the heavy cream turn into butter and the buttermilk didn't? Because the buttermilk has the word butter in it, so wouldn't you think that that would turn into butter? Well, the reason is the fat content, okay? So if you pick up your container, and if you look on the side, you'll see the nutrition facts, okay? So if we look at the total fat, okay, so you'll see calories. There's 50 calories per serving size, and the serving size is up here. It says 1 tablespoon. And then there's 50 calories per 1 tablespoon, so that's what we used here, a tablespoon. Okay, there's 5 grams of total fat. It also gives us our cholesterol, how much cholesterol is in it, 20 milligrams. There's some sodium. There's total carbohydrates, and there's proteins. So we're interested in the total fat. So there's 5 grams of fat in the heavy whipping cream. Okay, so let's look at our light cream. So again, it looks the same. The nutrition label looks the same in every product that you buy in the grocery store. All your foods have a nutrition label. So you can be getting into the practice of looking at your fat content, your calorie content, and it always tells you your serving size. So for every 1 tablespoon, in this case, it's a serving size, there's going to be 30 calories. So for that 1 tablespoon that we measured, there's 30 calories, and there's only 3 grams of fat in this light cream, 3 grams. So this had 5 grams, 50 calories, 5 grams. This one had 30 calories and 3 grams of fat. So 3 is less than 5, right? So let's take a look at our buttermilk. Okay, this one's on the front. This one, the serving size is 1 cup. So 1 measuring cup, which I do not have in here with me today, but a measuring cup, if you're making like maybe cookies or whatever, you usually use 1 cup to measure out your flour and your sugar and stuff like that. So this serving size is 1 cup. There's going to be 150 calories in 1 cup of this buttermilk, and the total fat is going to be 7 grams of fat. Okay, so this does have a higher fat content. So the heavy cream had 5 grams of fat. This one did not turn into butter. The heavy cream allows for the cream. This is a cream. This is a milk. So the fat content is higher in the cream, and that's allowing for that product to turn into butter. So the fat particles that were in here were moving and sticking together to make that butter. And we could feel that. Remember how I kept saying, boy, this feels like it's not moving as quickly as the light cream, because the fat particles were slowing down and they were binding up together to form that butter product. So we have our buttermilk, we have our light cream, all of our nutrition labels, and we have our heavy cream. So this one had a higher fat content, so it's going to have of the cream, because it's a cream product and the fat content was higher. This one was making the butter. Okay, and then the byproduct was the buttermilk, which actually would end up being this product over here, the buttermilk. So the last step we do in our scientific method is a conclusion. So in conclusion, we learned that butter can be made from milk from heavy whipping cream because of the high fat content. Okay, so I'm glad you tuned in today. I hope you're watching all kinds of neat different experiments during Remake Days. And hopefully, if we have not been to your school, maybe someday we'll be able to get there, and you can come on our science lab and do some pretty cool experiments with us. Okay, so thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye-bye.